The Great Crane Robbery is a lot of fun, and with one of the sweetest endings to a Frasier episode ever. This is episode 4 of season 8. It's directed by Katy Garretson, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts along the way. It starts off down at KSEL. We meet the new station manager, Todd. He's played by Alan Tudyk, and he's quite an interesting character, and Frasier is certainly quite interested in him. We'll come back to him in a second. We then go over to the apartment where Daphne is giving Martin a massage, and she's a little bit wound up about this whole situation with Mel, and she seems to calm down a little bit, but that means the massage isn't as rough as Martin wants it to be, so he keeps winding her up about the situation, which is evil, but it's quite funny at the same time. And then Todd comes over, and he's not very happy because he's looking around Frasier's apartment and there's loads of art and history everywhere, and these are things that Todd feels like he should know about, but he doesn't. So Frasier agrees to give Todd some points on the arts to help him out, and he offers to buy Frasier's house. he really likes Frasier's apartment, and instead of working to create something similar, he decides, I'll just buy this one, and needless to say, Frasier says no. But he does point out that there is an apartment available in the building, and Todd decides he's going to go for it, and Frasier is very happy because Todd declares that he's going to make Frasier the biggest star on radio. So it seems like this could be a really good working relationship. We're then down in Cafe Nervosa, and Niles and Frasier are there. Frasier is excited about being a mentor to Todd, which it does seem a bit strange, as Niles kind of points out that Frasier is mentoring his boss, the station manager. It's an interesting setup, and I don't know if that would ever work in real life, but certainly it's good. It's fascinating. Frasier's excited. Frasier leaves, and then Mel arrives, and I'm not sure if I guess there's a level of unpredictability. I've seen the season before, so I know what happens for the most part. I can't remember everything, but I don't know if I'm happy that they're dragging things out with Mel, or if they should have just kind of lobbed the character off at the end of the last season, because Mel has decided that actually what she and Niles has done over the previous weeks has just been phase 1. She now needs Niles to act in a way that would drive her away, so that it won't affect her reputation. But obviously this is going to affect Niles' reputation. If he's behaving badly and seeming to treat her badly, that's not a great look. And I think that's unreasonable of Mel to ask. I feel like initially asking Niles to go to some events with her because of what he did to her, I think is fair enough. But I think at this point she's taking it too far. But I've never liked the character, so I'm hardly surprised. We then have Frasier, Roz, and Kenny heading to Todd's housewarming. And the reveal is brilliant because Frasier opens, well, they go in through the door, and it's basically Frasier's apartment. Todd has basically replicated Frasier's layout, his furnishings, but obviously it's not exact, it's not the identical furniture. Obviously nobody would have Martin's chair other than Martin, but it's so funny to see, and it's just an absolute joy, and it's brilliant. We're then back at Cafe Nervosa again with Frasier and Niles, and then Todd's arriving, and he's dressed the exact same as Frasier. It's very clear that Todd is insecure about his own tastes, his own preferences, and this is not the most unique thing. I think there are plenty of people, I've probably fallen victim to this myself at some point, where you're not necessarily comfortable in your own skin, so you look to somebody you admire, and you think, well, I admire them, so if I just do things the way they do it. So I think there are some good lessons in here, particularly if you're the Todd of the scenario. Ask yourself, are you inspired by somebody, or are you just replicating them? And obviously with Todd, he is replicating Frasier, and I know that copying is the greatest form of flattery, but it can go too far. And Frasier decides that he needs to change his apartment. He can't convince Todd to change it, so maybe it's time for a change. Maybe Frasier just needs to move things around, and we'll come back to that. Largely it's because he doesn't want to risk what Todd can do for his career, but we'll come back to that in a moment. We then have Mel and Niles, and it's very clear that it doesn't go according to plan at the restaurant. Niles is not on board with it, and I have to say, good for Niles. I like that. And then we get this delightful montage. It's so fun with Frasier changing the apartment in loads of different ways. Nothing's satisfying. He's not happy with any of it. And ultimately, the last part of the montage is the apartment is empty, apart from Martin in his chair, which I love. I love that. It's also a really nice opportunity to see the bare set and to really appreciate the layout of the apartment. There's a particular, like the level where I think the piano usually is. I don't really pay that much attention to that beam. I'm not describing it very well, but there's a pillar in front of the window, I guess, and it's really beautiful. And obviously, because it's a very busy apartment with a lot of furnishings and a lot of objects, it's never going to be the main focus. But when we get to see it stripped, it's really beautiful. It's a really, really nice design, and it's just a nice opportunity to really admire the beauty of the space. And I think it would be very easy to view that apartment and just fall completely in love with it. And Martin points out to Frasier that he was the original. His apartment was the original. So Todd should be the one to change things. And Frasier finally realizes, yes, that's fair enough. But before he gets a chance to say anything, Todd turns up at the door and he tells Frasier that Architectural Digest is doing a cover story on Todd's apartment and furniture, which basically means they're doing a cover story on Frasier's apartment, except it's Todd's. And Frasier's face, when when he turned around, he needed to sit down. The physical comedy is amazing as Kelsey Grammer is just flailing around this basically empty apartment, trying to find somewhere to sit. Martin offers his seat, Frasier recoils from that, and it is so funny. And he ultimately sits on the toilet lid in the cupboard, and it was a beautiful, funny moment. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. And this is basically where we end things. The very end of the episode is the sweetest thing ever, as Frasier has put the apartment back to the way it was, and he realizes something's not right. So he goes to the kitchen. Martin is in the kitchen, and he ushers Martin back into the room, sits him down, hands him a beer, and there it is, it's complete. I love the fact that it's saying Frasier's apartment is incomplete without Martin in his chair, which is 100% true. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think there would be any fan of Frasier who would like to see Martin in the chair gone. It's essential, and it's just such a beautiful, sweet moment. I found it to be really moving, and obviously Frasier, very beginning of the series, would have thrown Martin in the, well, we know what happened with the chair at one point. Definitely not something Frasier would have ever thought was a staple of his home decor. But here we see that actually that is the case. Martin is crucial to Frasier's apartment, and it's a lovely ending. It's a very funny episode. Kelsey Grammer was fabulous, of course, and seeing the apartment in its different versions was just beautiful. Really enjoyed it. Needless to say, The Great Crane Robbery is a really fabulous episode of Frasier.